Hi everyone, and welcome to a new video from CoderOne. So in today's video, we are going to be seeing beginner tips for getting into web development and landing your first job. So we're going to be seeing everything you need to land your first job and going from zero to hero in web development. So either you are actually a beginner or you're just getting started with web development. So I'm just going to give you my tips that I found out really useful during my career and stuff that I did a couple last years that made me where I am right now, and just opened to me a lot of opportunities, and how I approached self-taught a developer kind of career and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna just exploring all the different stuff in here, how you can get started from zero and get into web development from scratch, how you can learn, what approaches you need to go through. So first thing you actually need to consider doing is actually start always learning the basics. So whatever you're going to be doing is actually start always by learning and approaching the basics. So for web development in here, so we got the basics. You pretty much need to go through what is a web page, what's the web page actually composed of, how the web actually works, and what are the main components of a web application or a web page. So you simple it like that. So just get started, try to wonder. For example, you go to Google, or you follow up a course and you try to understand what is a simple web page, what is an HTML, and how stuff gets structured using HTML, because HTML is a really important markup language, or what it stands for, hypertext markup language. So it actually composes the web page. It tells where your text goes. For example, where you put an image, then you just go down a little tiny text right there. For example, then you go you put a footer, you put a div, you put pretty much whatever. So this is actually, it can be corresponding, and it tells the web page how to structure your page's contents. And it's pretty much really important. It's pretty much one of the most important components on a web page exists, and it is pretty much the first thing you need to consider learning on a web page. So you just go for HTML, try to make stuff really simple stuff on how web page pretty much operates, what are the most tag elements used, and what are attributes of a web page. So how a web page operates and the most used attributes on a web page, and all the different stuff of a basic HTML concepts you need to be approached at. Then after you've seen HTML and try to work with it decently and know much more about attributes and a lot about elements and what you should be using, you pretty much go and try to learn CSS, or what it's called cascading style sheet. So the cascading style sheet is actually a language that allows you to define custom style for a web page. So if you go for Facebook or any other web page Google stuff, you find custom images, custom colors, different type of layout. You see a button on the top, then a footer on the bottom, and so on and so forth. So it's all being done using CSS. So CSS allows you to put the layout of the page, change the style of the web page, put a background color, or even do animation from scratch. So for example, you can just pick up a ball and you make it bounce back and forth, and so on and so forth. So it pretty much that's how it works, and CSS is really important to master. So if you want to just become and do great designs, so CSS is actually your gate through that, because it's all about making your page much more interactive and responsive. So you can pretty much, as you clearly see, for websites, when you resize the window, it just works on different aspect ratios. So how is that? It's actually using the responsiveness and the displaying and specific layouts using the CSS in order to make that possible. So it all happens in CSS, and CSS is actually a breakpoint in that, because it's a game changer. Whether if you master CSS, you're going to become a high level developer, and if you don't, it's just going to seem a little bit flimsy and stuff goes back and forth and breaks in there and here. So yeah, it becomes really hectic if you don't actually learn CSS properly, because it is a really important step in a web development's career. So the third most important component on a web page or on web component is actually JavaScript. So you probably have heard about JavaScript before I'm saying JavaScript right now, because it is everywhere. Pretty much you just search on Google for JavaScript, you find tons of courses and stories talking about it, and a lot of people. So JavaScript is actually the programming language that empowers the web page. It pretty much makes the web page interactive. It lets you dynamically change the data on the web page, or pretty much like fetch data from a server, like send data to a server, and like register an user, and so many things happens with JavaScript. Now JavaScript pretty much lives both in the front end, which means it runs in your web page, and the other side, it runs on the server side. So it pretty much runs everywhere, and that's why JavaScript is super powerful nowadays, and that's why you should actually focus more on JavaScript. So you go learn HTML first, because you know the structure of the web page and syntax and stuff. You learn CSS, how things and how to style the web page and make it look better, and eventually you go with JavaScript in order to make the web page alive. You make it interactive with the user. You make it like when the user makes a click, it pretty much responds to that click specifically how the user wants it to respond, and so on and so forth. So that's basically what JavaScript is, and it is actually a huge language, as I said before. If this is actually the first time, like your first programming experience, you're gonna just have some difficulties learning JavaScript. So I recommend going and following like a JavaScript course, or like a set of tutorials on even YouTube, Udemy, or whatever. So you can just learn about JavaScript properly, the different syntax of JavaScript, how functions actually operate, and different stuff about JavaScript. So until you get decent with JavaScript, like you know how to dynamically run the web page, and how to change data on the web page, and how like JavaScript pretty much operates on the other hand. So until that, once you pretty much fully understand how JavaScript works, what is the different version of JavaScript, ES6 and stuff, so you can then move on over the beginner zone, and you get started like by learning a little bit more complicated stuff than the basic stuff like HTML, CSS, and of course JavaScript. So the second thing actually most people underestimate at first is actually practicing and making side projects. So practice is key pretty much everywhere. So whatever you want to succeed, you get better at stuff, always you need to practice either football, basketball, or anything. So the same happens with JavaScript, and the same happens with web development in that particular case. So creating side projects is key to success, into getting better in web development and as a web developer in general, and getting better and advance in a tremendous elegant way in your career. So it is actually a game changer to practice. So what you can pretty much do, just pick up like a code editor like Visual Studio Code or something, and you start coding. You start like putting an HTML page, and you just like put some CSS to it, like change some background colors. Even if it is awful and it looks awful in some side, but for you, it should pretty much look really nice, because this is actually your first website. You made that, so you should be proud of making this. And you pretty much, you can add some simple JavaScript to it. For example, you make when you click a button, you change the text here and there, and you can do a couple of different stuff using JavaScript and all the like components right here. So what you can do, for example, like some applications, like some examples for like practicing and what apps you can create by that. So for example, you can go and create like a to-do application where you just like, I don't know, you can add to-dos to that particular list, and you can remove to-dos using JavaScript and stuff. Or you can create a slideshow image application where images can like go and back, like back and forth. And here you can pretty much use like a button to move to the second image, or you can autoplay. You can create like a simple blog where you just show an image, then you show the blog post, or you show the title and stuff like that. And you can do so many things, so many ideas in that. You can even create like a voting application for specific stuff, like a bidding application on an e-commerce website. Just a simple, really easy version of it, nothing really complicated, but you can do that of course without any issue. So this can make you like step ahead and step forward pretty much compared to other developers and other people's that don't practice, because practice is always going to make you a winner. So always try to practice, always try to create more applications, try to explore more application ideas, and try to make them alive to understand how things actually works. The third tips is always ask for help. So as I've seen, a lot of newbie developers and beginners gets really afraid and ashamed of asking like other developers, like experienced developers or intermediate developers, questions, either in forums or in Stack Overflow, even in Reddit. They all like get afraid and panic so fast, like I don't know that, or like I'm super stupid or something like that. And this is completely unusual, because a lot of developers would love to help other developers, including me. I love actually helping a lot of developers, putting content, trying to help and answer comments and stuff like that. So as do other developers. So if you're a beginner and you got stuck somewhere, pretty much you can just go ahead and pull off a forum or the Stack Overflow even, just like put your question there, and pretty much a lot of people are gonna be really grateful to just like go ahead and respond to you, give you help, and try to make your day. Pretty much that's what happens in there. Even in non-famous like forums or pretty much wherever, you can even like on Messenger, any chat application, you can message someone that has experience, and they can pretty much very happy if they want to help, of course, but most of the times they will, and they will help you and you get what you want. So this is actually the point that a lot of people underestimate in here, because asking for help is not like a stupid thing, because it can help you achieve more things in no time, and it can just point you in the direction that you want to go through, because instead of just going in multiple directions and experiencing multiple stuff, so you can just ask people to point you where you need to go, and you simply just go on it. So that's all what you need to be considered doing in that particular case, is actually asking for help. I also found out that Reddit is actually a great place to post your questions, and a lot of people would be very happy to help you out. So why not just go and ask your help, and hopefully you will get exactly what you desire. And the last step I would recommend for anyone who wants to land a great job in the web development field is always try to learn and master hot technologies, libraries, and frameworks. It is always a great thing to do so on any like development field, either mobile developments, web developments, or pretty much anywhere. So this is pretty much the part where you go out in the market and try to explore what is currently shiny and just grab it onto your own advantage. What I mean by this is pretty much you go, for example, into Google, you do like a simple search and try to figure out what is currently hot, like frameworks and libraries, what most like job listings are including on their offers and requirements sheet, and what they pretty much require in that. So for example, what's currently like on the table, what most of the employers and most of the companies are recommending or pretty much looking for on their like on job listings are, you can say, React and stuff like Vue.js, Angular, Nodejs, or like Nodejs for building backends and stuff. Or you can pretty much find like Go, also Ruby, and Ruby on Rails is pretty much on fire right now as well, and so many stuff like that. So pretty much stuff like, for example, you can take React. So React is heavily like looking for, always employers are looking for React developers pretty much everywhere, either React or React Native for making or developing mobile ready applications. So it's actually a great idea, just go ahead and master and learn React from scratch, because it's going to open up a lot of opportunities up in you, and it's just going to make you land your first job just by learning these hot technologies, what everyone is actually looking for on the market. So my recommendation, what you should pretty much do to pretty much find what is currently hot and what you should be learning depending on your expertise and your like base interest. So you can pretty much pick up like Stack Overflow or GitHub, and you go to the Stack Overflow 2020 survey, since we are actually in 2020 right now, or whatever year pretty much you're on, and you just pick up that survey and you try to look in what employers are looking for, what most companies are hiring for, what is the currently trending technology, library, or framework like React or pretty much Node.js, and try just like pick up that framework or library and just try to understand it, try to learn it from scratch, try to get started with it and get decent with it, where you just like build your applications by yourself. Then afterwards you go and submit like for a job or something, you just like go into an interview and voila, because you already know what is React and stuff like that. It's just like so many opportunities are going to open up in you, and this is going to be actually a great thing for you as a developer. So yeah, so that's actually was, guys, one of the like tips I found out they're really useful for a lot of people, and for me in particular case, because this is pretty much what I did in my career. So I just like started from zero, tried to be like a self-taught developer and try to understand a couple of different concepts by myself and how things actually goes back and forth. So just try to like share with you the basic tips and what I did in my career, so I could actually get decent at web development and learn like so many jobs and stuff like that. So yeah, so hopefully guys actually enjoyed this video, like tips on that particular video. So if you did, just push the like button and make sure to subscribe. So if you don't know who I am, pretty much I am Islam Pinwis, and yeah, this is actually my channel, my CoderOne, and I pretty much recently changed the name from iPinwis to CoderOne. If you're wondering, yeah, it's still me right here, flesh and blood. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. So if you know, like, wants more videos like this, or like any recommendation for different videos and stuff, I will be very happy to pretty much give you assist on that. And yeah, just post your comments in about like a couple of videos ideas or different ideas and stuff. I will be very, very happy to help you guys. So without further ado, without further say, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed this set before. I will catch you hopefully in the next couple of videos. Adios.